in Madhya Pradesh, on the national highway from Jabalpur to Mandla, about 20 kilometers from Jabalpur, in Ward No. 15 of Berla city, 40-year-old Deepa Mehra, aka Babli, lived with her 20-year-old daughter, Nisha. Babli's maternal home was in the nearby village of Tembita. Babli had a connection with Sandeep, who lived there. After some time, Sandeep and Nisha began talking on the phone regularly. On September 27th, while talking to Sandeep, Nisha suddenly heard someone approaching outside the porch. She told Sandeep, "It seems someone has come home, I'll talk to you later," and then hung up the phone. When Sandeep didn't hear back from Nisha for a long time, he called her again, but this time, her phone was switched off. Initially, Sandeep thought her phone might have run out of battery, but even after trying multiple times until midnight, Nisha's phone remained switched off. This made Sandeep anxious. The next morning, Sandeep woke up to a call from Babli's father, Chandrabhan, who informed him that both Babli and Nisha's phones were unreachable. Chandrabhan asked Sandeep if he had spoken to Nisha the previous night. Sandeep recalled Nisha's phone being switched off the night before. Chandrabhan lived in the village of Tabarbita, just 5 kilometers from Berla. Worried that Nisha's phone was still switched off, he asked his nephew Ashish to accompany him to Berla. When they arrived, they saw that the house where Babli and Nisha lived was locked. Babli's sister-in-law, Malti, lived in the adjacent house. Chandrabhan and Ashish knew that Babli and Malti hadn't spoken in a long time, but they still knocked on Malti's door. From inside, Malti asked who was there. When Chandrabhan loudly inquired about Nisha, Malti responded from inside, without opening the door, saying she didn't know anything about them. Chandrabhan and Ashish then asked other neighbors, most of whom confirmed that Babli and her daughter Nisha were last seen in their house between 8 o'clock and 9 p.m. the previous night, and the sound of the TV could be heard from their room. However, no one knew where they had suddenly gone. By now, it was broad daylight, and the news of the mother-daughter duo's disappearance had spread throughout the ward in Berla. Without wasting time, Chandrabhan filed a missing persons report at the Berla police station. By then, Nisha's fiancé, Sandeep, had also arrived. The police initially advised Chandrabhan and Sandeep to check with their relatives. Along with his nephew Ashish, Sandeep, and other relatives, Chandrabhan began searching for Babli and Nisha. Several days passed, but they found no clues. Chandrabhan eventually pressured the police by filing a formal missing persons report, demanding they intensify the search for Babli and Nisha. A week passed without any progress, leading Babli's family to escalate their complaints, reaching out to higher authorities like the DSP, SP, and even the CM helpline. They also lodged a formal complaint against the local police. Meanwhile, the Mehra community, outraged by the incident, began protesting against the police. Local citizens even threatened to block the national highway in Berla, prompting higher police officials to take action. Since there was no station in charge Thai at the Berla police station at the time, C. Manesh Lal Kaul was responsible. Recognizing the seriousness of the case, Jabalpur SP Siddharth Bahaguna handed over command of the Berla police station to the sharp-witted DSP, Apurva Kildar. DSP Kildar, along with the crime branch and Berla police, launched a fresh investigation. They began by inspecting Babli and Nisha's house. On October 2nd, 2021, DSP Kildar, along with the Berla police staff and a forensic team, unlocked Nisha's room. The room was neat and organized, but the kitchen had spoiled food emitting a foul odor. Upon inspecting the kitchen, they found cooked food, leaving everyone puzzled. When she had cooked the meal, where had both of them suddenly gone without eating? Later, Babli's cousin Ashish told the police that on the day he went to Malti to inquire about Babli and Nisha, Malti's daughter informed them that 2 boys had come to their house at night with Uncle Sanju and stayed until they went to sleep. This information became a crucial lead for the police in this case. The DSP asked who this Sanju was, and Ashish responded, "Sir, only Malti can answer that." With this, the police investigation began to focus on Babli's sister-in-law, Malti. Instead of directly questioning Malti, the police first gathered information about Sanju from the neighbors. Their inquiry revealed that his full name was Sanju Tripal, and although he was from another area, he frequently visited this neighborhood. Most people said that Sanju and Malti were having an illicit relationship, and he came to the area to meet her. Following this, The police went straight to Malti's house and tried to gather information from her. They asked why, despite having such a close relationship with Babley, they didn't get along. Malti explained that their thoughts and behavior didn't match, which is why they had stopped talking. When asked about Sanju, Malti claimed that he was her husband's friend. Since her husband was always away for work and her father-in-law was very old, Sanju took care of the family at her husband's request. This questioning of Malti proved to be very important for the police. Around the same time, the police obtained the call records of Sanju and Malti's phones, revealing that they had spoken for hours over the past 4 days. Additionally, an informant told the police that Sanju, along with his companions, had visited Malti's house on October 3rd. Then, DSP Apurva sent a female constable dressed in plain clothes to Malti's house when Malti was not at home. The constable questioned Malti's eldest daughter, and the police received shocking information. Malti's daughter told them that on the night of September 27th, 2 boys had come to their house with Uncle Sanju, and her mother had made them sleep early after feeding them. However, Sanju and the 2 boys stayed in the house until late at night. Malti's daughter further mentioned that when she woke up the next morning, she noticed that the door of her elder aunt Babley's house was locked. She assumed that her elder aunt had gone to their maternal grandfather's house with Nisha. By this point, the police had gathered various pieces of information regarding the missing mother and daughter, all revolving around Sanju and Malti. The police were now certain that Sanju and Malti were involved in Babley and Nisha's disappearance. Subsequently, the police summoned Sanju and Malti for questioning at the station at 11 am on October 4th. They were kept at the station for hours, and the police closely monitored their anxious and restless behavior. As the pressure increased, Malti finally confessed to her crime. The police then directly asked her what grudge led her to make them disappear. Meanwhile, Sanju also broke down under police pressure and confessed that he had killed Babley and Nisha at Malti's behest and had buried their bodies in his village. However, the story of this double murder that emerged during the interrogation shocked the police. In fact, 40-year-old Nisha Mehra, also known as Babley, who lived in Bhagat Singh colony in Berla, Jabalpur district, Madhya Pradesh, worked at a local Anganwadi center. She had married Nisha Mehra, the elder son of Pancham Lal from Berla, in 2000. Tragically, a year after their marriage, Nisha died in an accident shortly after their daughter Nisha was born in 2001. Pancham Lal's younger son, Suresh, worked as a mason and had married Malti. Suresh eventually moved out to live separately with his wife and children. Meanwhile, Babley was trying to run her household and raise her daughter with dreams of a better future. Over time, Nisha grew up and was in the final year of her college education at Salavada Gore College when her maternal grandfather arranged her marriage. There were 4 rooms in Pancham Lal's house. During the division, Babley occupied 2 rooms, and Suresh's family lived in the other 2. Suresh often stayed away in Manla district for work and didn't come home for months. Malti lived in Berla with her 3 daughters and her elderly father-in-law, Pancham Lal. Deprived of marital satisfaction, Malti came into contact with Sanju about 5 years ago. Sanju, a native of Magwa village, was acquainted with Suresh, and they looked for work together. When Suresh went to Mandla in search of work, Sanju began visiting Malti. Sanju would bring chocolates and biscuits for Malti's daughters, who called him uncle. Pancham Lal, being quite old and hard of hearing, was oblivious to Sanju and Malti's meetings. Eventually, the 2 developed an illicit relationship. Whenever they wanted to satisfy their desires, Sanju would give the children money to buy snacks and send them outside. Story continues. As soon as Babley entered the house through the door within the 4 walls, she heard the voice of a man coming from Malti's room, even though her father-in-law, Pancham Lal, wasn't home at the time. After Babley went to her room, she started hearing strange noises from the adjacent room. She placed her purse on the table and came into the veranda, where she saw that Malti's room door was locked from the inside. Babley quietly peeked through the small hole in the door, and what she saw inside left her shocked. Babley had noticed for a few days that a young man frequently visited Malti. When Babley asked Malti about it, she had said that the man, Sanju, was her cousin. However, on that day, what Babley saw with her own eyes filled her with rage. Babley knew about Sanju's bad character from before because he was fond of alcohol and had a criminal mindset. Sanju had once run away with a girl from his village, and no one knew what happened to that girl. Moreover, Sanju was a 34-year-old married man and the father of 2 daughters. When Babli confronted Malti about Sanju being in her room, Malti not only refused to admit her mistake, but also started verbally abusing Babli. Babli informed her father-in-law, Pancham Lal, about Malti's illicit relationship with Sanju, which made Malti angry at her sister-in-law. After that, Malti stopped talking to Babli, but Sanju kept visiting Malti's house without fear. Meanwhile, Babli's daughter Nisha was engaged to Sandeep, and Babli was worried that Malti's actions might ruin her daughter's marriage and bring shame to the family. Malti, being of a suspicious nature, believed that Nisha was spying on her and informing her mother Babli, who in turn reported everything to their father-in-law. This fear gnawed at Malti, and she worried that the truth about her and Sanju's affair might reach her husband Suresh. Sanju, too, had similar thoughts. Then one day, Malti told Sanju that Babli and her daughter Nisha had become obstacles in their relationship, and they needed to be removed. Together, they made a plan. Sanju roped in 2 of his friends, Raja Kal and Diva Kal, promising them rupee 50 sezans upon completing the task. Sanju even gave them some money in advance. On the night of September 27, 2021, Sanju arrived at Malti's house with Raja and Diva. According to their plan, Malti mixed sleeping pills into her father-in-law Pancham Lal's food, causing him to fall into a deep sleep. She also quickly fed her 3 daughters and sent them to sleep in another room. The 3 men waited in ambush in Babli's courtyard. Around 10 p.m., when Babli was heading toward the bathroom, they grabbed her from behind. Nisha, completely unaware of what was happening, was in her room talking on the phone with her fiancé Sandeep. But hearing some noise outside, she started walking toward the sound, only to find the 3 men entering her room. They strangled Nisha to death as well. After killing both mother and daughter, they wrapped the bodies in sheets and, under the cover of night, took them on a motorcycle to a canal, dumping the bodies in the bushes by the canal's edge. The next day, the culprits sprinkled salt over the bodies and buried them in a pit about 5 feet deep in a desolate area by the canal, about 800 meters from the main road. The police, in the presence of SDM Pramod Sen Gupta and Tehsildar, dug up the ground with the help of laborers and found 2 bodies buried one on top of the other, with a significant amount of salt over them. Nisha's body was on top, and Babli's beneath her. After identifying the bodies, family members and relatives gave their statements, and the post-mortem was conducted before the bodies were cremated. Police soon found and arrested Raja and Diva. SP Siddharth Bahaguna praised the police officers who played a key role in solving the case and arresting the murderers. Sanju Tripal, his lover Malti Mehra, and his friends Raja Kal and Diva Thakur were charged under Section 302 murder, Section 201 destruction of evidence, and other sections, and presented in Jabalpur court, where they were all sent to central jail. Friends, the purpose of sharing this story is not to hurt anyone or cause distress, but to make you aware and alert. What are your thoughts on this entire incident? Please share in the comments. If you appreciate our effort, like and share this video. If you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, please do so. Thank you.